Neil, how are you, buddy? You wearing one of your t-shirts here?
Yeah, there's enjoy Bitcoin on here.
It feels better up here at 30,000, huh?
How many people bought that t-shirt at 69,000?
Bought the t-shirt, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't look at the price
Sure.
correlated to specific t-shirts.
All right. Well, that's what I thought we'd have a new market correlation here today. Your
Well,
t-shirt indicator. Huh?
yeah, I mean, Bitcoin businesses, products, and services are definitely highly correlated to Bitcoin's price, especially the price volatility.
Okay. So, Neil, what's top of mind? I didn't get mine bought, and but yeah, I was price sensitive. So anyway, Neil helps people without, maybe there's a little income for his referring you to certain places. Why don't you tell us a little bit about when I got in touch with you and said, Neil, I want to buy my first Bitcoin, and you sent me some places to go check it out. Is that your preferred method of how you get people involved that are not, and maybe explain the process to them from purchasing it and have another cup of coffee and
Well,
purchasing it and and then take delivery of it. You want to talk about how that's done and how you direct people?
sure. So usually the first question I get from people who are interested in Bitcoin is how much should I invest in Bitcoin?
Okay.
And when that's the first question, I tell them that they shouldn't. Because if you have to ask that question, you're not ready. You need to learn about Bitcoin and why it's important, what it's trying to do. But once they get to that point, I recommend Bitcoin only products and services, not anything that's crowded by other crypto things. I'm not, as you know, a fan of everything outside of Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space. And
Right.
I want a company that's focused on Bitcoin and not other things, because if their focus is on Bitcoin, their products and services are going to be sharpened, as opposed to one that's scattered among these thousands and thousands of other cryptocurrencies. A lot of people.
Right.
So anyways, one of the companies that I have done work for, and I still do some work for, is Swan Bitcoin. That's the one I think that I mentioned last time on here. But there's a ton of other Bitcoin only places you could buy Bitcoin. Cash App, River Financial, depending on where you are in the world. In Canada, they have Bull Bitcoin, it's called. Coin Coiner out of the UK. So there's a lot of places Bitcoin only. So that's what I try to do first.
Do they segregate funds like a regulated firm would have to? Say, for example, you bought through these guys, and you didn't take delivery of it, you just let it sit. Do people just let it sit there and they have confidence that there'll be return of capital when they're ready to get it?
So the whole point of Bitcoin is not to trust anyone. So I wouldn't trust anyone, even
Okay.
these Bitcoin companies. However, they all have different setups. So Swan Bitcoin, Strike, Unchained Capital, I believe they all use Prime Trust, which sets up individual trusts for each individual person. You don't have to deal with that. It's all in the background. You just see it, a number in your account. But ultimately, you should withdraw your Bitcoin, take it into self-custody. Then there's other companies that actually custody the Bitcoin themselves, and they don't use, third parties. So it's important to know, but it's really not important to know if you just immediately withdraw the Bitcoin from whatever platform you're, purchasing it from.
Okay, so you don't keep any of your Bitcoin on any of these exchanges or anything. It's all in your wallet or however
Yeah, I
else.
mean, I might have like $100 or a couple $100 on a mobile wallet. If I'm going to like a Bitcoin conference and planned on like spending some Bitcoin or showing people about how to do it, but it should never be more money than you'd keep in your own paper wallet, pay for paper currency. You shouldn't carry
Right.
around, $10,000. I mean, I guess it depends on who you are, but most people wouldn't do that, right? In their own wallet, and you should treat Bitcoin the same.
And what's the process of taking custody? Can you break it down into a real simple process for how people would do that? They buy the Bitcoin at these places and then they transfer it to what?
So basically, the way Bitcoin works, and this is a very simple explanation, and I'm probably going to be missing some like technicalities here. But Bitcoin is sent from one address to another address. And in order to send from one address to another address, you need a private key. I like to explain it to people to think of it as like PO boxes at a post office. You go in, there's all these different PO boxes. There's
Right.
Bitcoin in all of them. But think of Bitcoin as transparent PO boxes. So you could see through all the PO boxes, you could see what's in them. But unless you have a key to that individual PO box, you can't move them, right? So
Right.
the exchanges, when you buy the Bitcoin, they hold the key to one of those PO boxes. And when you buy it, they hold it in this PO box, and you want to send it to your PO box that you
Yeah.
have a private key to. You say, I want to withdraw to this address, and they send it. Now you're going to say, well, how do I get this address and this private key, right, for the address? There are certain devices called hardware wallets that help you generate public and private key pairs. The public key is the address, right? And the private key is like the password. And no one else has that private key. It's all done through cryptography, very complicated mathematics that would take billions of years to crack. I think it's something like the chances of guessing a random private key that has Bitcoin on it is something like winning the Powerball 9 times in a row. So it's not something that we really need to worry about.
Okay. Sounds easy to you, Neil. I'll just say that. Okay, because I'm
Well,
in the
yeah,
FA.
yeah. What I would say is first, like, learn about Bitcoin, buy a tiny bit, kind of get a feel for what's going on, then buy a hardware wallet, and don't transfer all the Bitcoin from the exchange. If you buy $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, transfer $10 to the hardware wallet first. See that you did it right. Wipe the device clean. Make sure you can restore it. Then it shows the $10 worth of Bitcoin. And once I wiped the device clean, I put in my private key, which is a seed phrase. We don't have to go into like all the details. And the Bitcoin's there. It's like, oh, what do I have to worry about? I have it backed up. Even if the device gets crushed, burns down in a fire, I have a backup of it now. Like, you write it down. Suggest on like steel. Typically, there's places that sell steel that allow you to easily engrave the the seed phrases onto. It's a lot for someone who's not used to this. It's a lot, but anything worth doing in life is going to take some practice. And if you don't want to be one of those people, that's okay. If you just want price exposure to Bitcoin, you could buy, MicroStrategy, which is kind of like a derivative of Bitcoin, right? Because they hold a bunch of Bitcoin. Or you can buy one of these ETFs that's not in the US, but that's not really the point of Bitcoin. The point is censorship resistance, unconfiscatable money. And we just saw what happened with the banking system in the last few months, a few bank failures. I don't know if, how far that spreads and if there's still contagion that's going to spread throughout the system. But the whole point of Bitcoin is I never have to worry about that. When these banks are failing, I don't have to worry. Oh, do I have this amount of money in a bank? Is it above this threshold? Is there going to be a bail-in in my country where I am? In the US, we're kind of privileged, but in other countries, they've had bail-ins where they take people's money or they don't
Yes.
let them take them out.
Can you hear
So
me, Neil?
now I can, yeah.
Okay, because I was having some volume
I saw you
issues.
moving around there.
Okay, so can you actually hire a consultant to do all that for you, and you'd have to trust them if you were,
Well, again, you'll always have to trust someone, but if you go to someone like a Swan Bitcoin, they'll walk you through step by step. If you go to an Unchained Capital, which does like multi-signature setups, meaning to access your Bitcoin, instead of just having like one private key, you'll need like 2 of 3. It's so basically kind of like in the movies, you see to open a vault, they need 2 keys to open it at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So Bitcoin, you could set up a similar thing where you set up one there could be 3 keys and you need 2 of them, where like you would hold one, maybe you'd give it to a family member, and then Unchained Capital will hold the 3rd key. So Unchained Capital alone can't access your Bitcoin, right? Because they only have 1 of the 3. So, and they would help walk you through that. They understand that this is a new technology and there's a learning process. But like I said, anything with
they must be very patient people.
Yes.
I mean, I do some teaching and coaching, and you need patience. They'd have to be pretty patient with me to walk me through it. I'll tell you that.
But like anything, we humans, we learn. 20 years ago, or not 10 years ago, if you would have said 75-year-old grandmothers would be on their iPhones on Facebook doing things, people would laugh and say, no, they can't do that, right?
Yeah,
people learn. When there is a need, people learn. And like I said, in the Western world, we're kind of privileged and we haven't really dealt with hyperinflation or banks taking our money. But in other parts of the world, there's a need and people learn when there's a need.
Yeah, definitely, especially if they've had to live through a crisis like that. I'd like to get your thoughts on, first of all, the Fed Now system that's coming up, and the big push towards CBDCs and talk of a unicoin for the whole world. They're talking. I mean, it seems like this momentum is growing. When do you think central banks and governments are going to launch their coins?
So let's just remember, before Bitcoin, you never heard about central bank digital currencies, right? So this is really
never heard about it.
Right. This is really a response to Bitcoin. First off, as far as I understand, the Fed Now is not like a CBDC. It just helps
It's a new
commercial
payment
banks.
system.
Yeah, it's a CBDC would basically be a central bank. You have an account as an individual at a central bank, right?
Okay.
So I don't think the Fed Now is anything like that. I know a lot of people are saying, well, this is the first step towards that. I don't really see the connection there, but CBDCs in generals are very dystopian, right? It would basically, everyone has an account with the Fed and they kind of control how you spend,
well, they know everything.
Yeah, you want to go, eat a steak, and they're like, no, cow farts are bad for the environment. You're only allowed 1 steak a month. You can't go to this place, right? And we don't allow you to spend there. Or in order to force people to spend money, maybe the economy is, slowing down and they want people to spend, they impose negative interest rates, which force people to spend even if they don't want to, right? So all these things, people say, oh, that'll never happen. But we know we live in a world where that'll never happen happens, right?
Yes.
No one ever thought that the countries would shut down, that the world would shut down in many ways for years. So I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just talking about the reality. People in power want more power, and CBDCs are really bad. I don't think that a CBDC will happen in the US, especially not first. I think it'll happen in other countries. The US, why would they give up
Give
the
up.
world reserve currency and switch to
Yeah.
another system when they think it's working fine for them? I don't think
When
it
it
is.
isn't. When it
Right.
isn't anymore.
Right. But why are they going to give that up? And I think they're going to, other places
Good
are going to be
point.
like the test net to see CBDCs run first. And also in the US, we kind of still have rule of law and the Constitution. A lot of Bitcoiners would say that none of that stuff really matters, that the politicians really do what they want. But, Bitcoin is, protected under the First Amendment. It's speech. It's just computer code, right? That's how I look at it. CBDCs, there's nothing in the Constitution that allows the Fed to set up CBDCs. There's no law that allows the Fed to do this. So you need laws passed. That could happen, but right now the framework isn't there, and I would hope that U.S. citizens don't bend over to a CBDC. But when times are tough and there's struggle or crisis, that's when
Yes.
laws are passed and people kind of cave. And if someone's going to say, well, I'm going to give you this new CBDC, $10,000 to your account, a lot of people might cave to that if they're in desperate times.
How can you prove that Bitcoin is unconfiscatable?
Well, like I said, you need a private key to access one of those PO boxes, right? A public address to send from one address to another. So when you can generate a public and private key offline without a computer, not connected to the internet. You do that, you could generate 12 words, which make up a private key, and you can memorize those 12 words in your head if you had to. And you could travel. How could someone confiscate that? Now, obviously, someone could hold a gun to your head, threaten your family, things like that. But that could happen now with anything. But in terms of coming to your house and taking it from you, they can't take something that's in your mind.
Okay. Not without, unless you're coerced.
Right. But that could happen with anything. And if we're living in
Right.
that world, that kind of is terrible anyways.
Yeah, you probably need ammo.
But there are also ways to kind of create diversions and distractions with so there's ways to kind of mask your seed phrase. You could have multiple seed phrases, right? Where you give them one that has maybe a little Bitcoin on it, kind of like a get the fuck out of here stash. Ooh, excuse me for my language.
That's
But where
okay.
you give them a seed and they say, oh, there's Bitcoin here, he gave us a seed. But then you have another seed phrase that has 90% of your Bitcoin holding. So there's never a way to know for sure who has what amount of Bitcoin, right?
Right, because they ask on the tax form if you've ever bought crypto or Bitcoin. Don't they on tax returns now? So I mean, the government. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, Dale. I'm also a CPA, so I'm quite familiar with the tax forms, and I do mostly tax work. It does ask you if you have sold, acquired, you got all these different things. I don't know if the question. I'm pretty sure buying Bitcoin alone, you don't have to check that box, but ask your CPA. Don't ask mine. Don't take my word for it. A lot of people just as a disclosure thing might check it anyways because they don't want to have to deal with it. But again, there are ways to obtain Bitcoin where there's no KYC. There's no know your customer in obtaining. Now, through the exchanges I told you about, you have to go through a KYC process. So those exchanges know who buys the Bitcoin. And if the government ever went to the exchange, I'm telling you in a minute, those exchanges are going to turn it over to the government. Like they're going to say, this is who we sold the Bitcoin to, right? If you withdrew the Bitcoin, the exchange doesn't have it, right? But your name will be given up. But I can go to a Bitcoin meetup. There's tons of Bitcoin meetups all around the world. And someone could have Bitcoin and say, hey, could I buy $100 worth of Bitcoin on you? Sure. I give them $100 cash. They send it to an address that I have that's not connected with any other address that I've generated. No one knows I have that Bitcoin. No one knows it belongs to me. So there are ways. But yeah, right now, most of the ways to obtain Bitcoin in large quantities is through like KYC efforts or exchanges.
Okay. So anything you want to wrap with?
So someone in the chat said, how are people's Bitcoin stolen? So I think there's a common misconception. You see these big salacious headlines that, oh, this person's Bitcoin was stolen, blah, blah. It's usually like because they kept it on exchanges. Like what we saw with FTX, they have third-party custody. And it's also people that have big mouths. And they brag about how much Bitcoin they have, and then someone comes to their house with a gun, right? And tries to take their Bitcoin. But there's no like hacking of the Bitcoin network. It's secured by cryptography that the NSA created. No one's ever figured out how to crack it. So yeah, I'm not too concerned. Any last words? No, I'm just happy. Last time we talked, I feel like we were still kind of in the bear market or feelings in Bitcoin. I think I said to you on the last show, I hope I come on here once and Bitcoin's kind of going up. And I think it's probably up like 60, 70% since we last talked. So it's nicer to be on an upswing coming on here.
All right. Well, revel in it. And,
there's a saying in the Bitcoin community, stay humble and stack sats. Sats are just Bitcoin, the visibility of a Bitcoin. Is 100 million units. So people say, stay humble, stack sats. I know how volatile this is. I'm in this for the long run. So I don't really revel in it too much. It definitely feels better when number go up, as we say. But it's all just about knowing what you own and teaching and educating others.
So what's FOMO21.com about now?
Oh, yes. Thank you again for bringing it up. It's I have a merch and apparel site, Bitcoin only merch and apparel, no crypto merch. It's just Bitcoin merch. And
look, you could spin the wheel today.
Yes, you can spin a wheel and get a discount on our site. If you want to X out of that, you can. But yeah, we have all different Bitcoin merch. I do all the designs. So almost everything you see on there has my touches on it. And it's been great. We had our best month last month. Things are moving in the right direction. And come and check out some Bitcoin only merch at FOMO21.com. And you could find me on Twitter at Neil Jacobs, NeilJacobs. You could DM me on Twitter. I try to answer my messages. I get a lot of them.
I can attest to that. I reached out to Neil because I was going to buy my first Bitcoin, and he was right on it. And
I'm kind of a Twitter addict, so I'm on there a lot. I promote conferences. I speak I'll be at the Bitcoin conference in Miami, May 18th through the 20th. I'm going to be on a panel there. If you want to go, promo code FOMO. Coincidentally, all the Bitcoin conferences use the promo code FOMO. That'll usually get you a nice discount. Just that's a tip for anyone that wants to go to a Bitcoin conference. But I'll be at that in Miami. Anyone just hit me up in my DMs. I love to help people. That's why I do this. I'm passionate about it. Like I said, I have a full-time job outside of the Bitcoin space. I'm a CPA. So Bitcoin for me isn't my only thing. So I'm able to it allows me to be honest and true to myself because I'm not working for a Bitcoin company, at least as an employee. What you hear me say is what I believe.
Well, wear what you believe. So if you're a hodler, how about this? You could wear this and get a great conversation going with Weimar is coming.
Yes.
That's a great one, man.
So that's like a play on the winter is coming from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right.
Some people might be familiar with that.
And for any sports enthusiast,
I
I know.
Yeah,
I
go
told you.
ahead.
Honey badgers. What's that term in crypto again? What are honey badgers?
So basically, a honey badger is one of the most fiercest animals in the world. I don't know if you've ever
Wow.
seen a video. They'll like attack king cobra snakes. They don't care. So there's this saying, a honey badger don't give a,
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
And
right.
people in the Bitcoin community said Bitcoin is the honey badger. It just doesn't
All
care.
right.
So it kind of became, an unofficial mascot in the Bitcoin community. So yeah, go honey badgers. It's it's fun.
You, Neil,
I like to tell people that I bring memes to life, to real life, wearable memes. So that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
I have fun with it. And yeah, it's good. And it helps spread the word about Bitcoin because, like you said, like the Weimar is coming is a conversation starter. Either, you'll know what that means, you're a gold bug, or you have no idea what Weimar is, but you know what Game of Thrones is, and you'll be like, what's that mean? Right. And it's all
Yeah.
about starting a conversation and having fun.
And it's all about you being a very good ambassador for the space, Neil.
I appreciate that.
And thank you for coming on and explaining what you probably have 1 million times already. And I guess the key takeaway is if there's a need to learn, you won't be lazy and you'll learn it. And if you care about
Yeah.
having an being in it, like they say, do your own due diligence. Same thing here.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of Michael Saylor. He says, once someone puts 100 hours into learning about Bitcoin, they can't look away. Like diligently, that's like 2.5 full work weeks, only Bitcoin, right? Focusing, podcasts. Most people, they just have a cursory understanding. They watch a couple of YouTube videos. But once you like really dive in and understand, I think you'll get it, and you'll see why so many people like me are like, holy crap, this is amazing. This could be, it is world changing already. It went from worth nothing to a $1 trillion market cap. Now we're back around, I don't know, 400 billion. But I don't know how people see the Bitcoin price at 30,000 and they think, oh, that's a Ponzi scheme. Like, maybe there's something about it. Why do you think people are buying it? Yeah, there are some like degenerate gamblers who have no idea what's going on. Maybe that's all the large majority of people. But how could you see something rise to such great heights and not think maybe I'm missing something? Right? Maybe
it's
look
being
inward.
adopted. You could. I know someone put out a tweet, Neil, and we'll wrap it with this. That they it was from a precious metal physical firm that they accept payments in Bitcoin now. So they have on their prices. So it's the main reason is whether and I think probably most people have a negative opinion, never put those 2 weeks into learning about it. They just have an opinion. I still haven't put the 2 weeks into it. But very interesting, it's being adopted, and isn't that the main reason we're going to go to levels that super bulls are talking about, is the adoption process.
Yeah, and look, there's people like me who just keep, accumulating more and more Bitcoin. So even if adoption like slows down, what happens when there's less supply on a market?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple supply and demand, right? Price goes up. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And you might want to get some in case it catches on. Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator, that's a famous quote by him for anyone that doesn't know. But, and just one other thing I want to say before we go, there's a really good YouTube creator, BTC Sessions, SESSIONs, like sessions, where he does tutorials on like any Bitcoin thing you could think of. If you type in BTC Sessions, hardware wallet, BTC Sessions, exchanges, whatever you want to type in, he probably has something, and he's really good. I would check him out if you want to learn how to do things, like actually do things in the space.
All right. Well, Neil, thanks so much for edifying the F.A.C.E community once again. And I'm glad
this has been like a quarterly thing for us. I feel like every 3 months. I like it.
It is, and it will be again.
I'm in.
If you and anyway, Get ready, everyone. Weimar is coming, and Neil Jacobs. You can follow him at Neil Jacobs, and I guarantee you, if you have a question, he'll get back to you. Thank you, Neil, for being, my go-to Bitcoin guy.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I always love your chat. The audience is getting more and more receptive to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they didn't boo you out of here this time.
No, I feel like the first time they were a little more on edge, but now they're getting more and more warm to it.
You're part of the family now, buddy. It's been a year.
I'm happy to be here.
All right. Neil Jacobs, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. See you, bro. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you, everyone. All right. I'll see everyone, and you could join the team in 13 minutes on the Morning Edge. Everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't just count your crypto and coins. Count your blessings. I need a shave, huh? Same to you guys. Back at you, Sinatra. Adios.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.